Are you looking at buying your first Harley Davidson and you got your eye on a Sportster 883 but you want to know the good and the bad before you buy one? Well, in this video, I'm going to go over a couple of things that you're going to need to know before you grab one for yourself. And at the end of the video, I'll also run through a couple of the modifications I've done to my bike and what I've got planned for it in the future. So let's dive straight into it. So the Sportster 883 is a pretty good bike for entry-level riders, as its 883cc engine has got enough power for a beginner, but not too much power that you're going to hurt yourself. Weighing around 250 kilos, it strikes a balance between being lightweight enough for nimble city riding and heavy enough for stable highway cruising. Now, this one falls into the good and the bad category, but let's just cover the good first, and I'll touch on the bad a bit later. Now, with a low seat height, it makes for a fairly comfortable riding position, but with a couple of modifications, like better rear shocks, you can make it even more comfortable, and at roughly about 1100mm, you won't need to be a giant to plant your feet firmly on the ground. The customization for Sportsters is absolutely next level. These bikes are a great foundation for anyone who wants to customize their bike to make it their own and to make it really stand out. The list of things that can be done to them is extensive, everything from cosmetics to performance. Stick around to the end of this video and I'll run you through what I've done to my bike and what I'm planning on doing. The second-hand cost for older Sportsters isn't too bad here in Australia. You can pick them up from anywhere from 8,000 Australian all the way up to about 15,000 Australian, depending on the exact model, the year, kilometres of the bike as well. The basic maintenance on a Sportster anyone can do from home. As long as you've got a bike manual and you've got some mechanical know-how, you can handle the basics yourself. Plus, I've done a service series on my channel if you want to check that out, and you can follow it along from home. Plus, the last thing is the Sportster community, because this community is absolutely massive. There are large communities on the internet which, if you have any questions about your bike, there's always going to be people to help you out and give you advice, especially on somewhere like Reddit. Now, let's get into the bad. Now, for some of these, they kind of go hand in hand with the good, but I'll sort of explain it as I run you through them. So the first one's going to be comfort. The first major one, like I mentioned in the good, the Sportster can be comfortable, but at stock standard, it's not the best. The first thing most people will recommend is changing the seat and the rear shocks, as the stock seat isn't that comfortable on long rides, but changing the seat and shocks will definitely improve your riding experience straight away. Another thing you can do is also put some forward controls on, which if you're interested in seeing that, that'll be my next video, so make sure you subscribe so you keep up to date when I post it. Now, the fuel capacity on Sportsters isn't so great. Mine, for example, is a peanut tank which holds roughly 12 litres, but with a tank lift it's even less, as it creates a bigger air pocket at the top of the tank past the fuel cap. The cost of customizing a Sportster can get expensive for genuine parts. Now, this is all the same for any bike really, but if you're into tinkering in the garage and have some hand tools, you can do a lot of customizations yourself. With the bike being on the smaller side, it could be quite uncomfortable for someone who's taller, as you might feel a bit cramped up while you're sitting on the bike. There are things that you can do to help with this, like getting some forward controls or some bigger handlebars, but this is definitely something worth noting. Now, with all this being said, these points are based on individual preferences and experiences. Now I'll run you through a couple of the things that I've already done to my Sportster and a couple of things that I'm looking at doing in the future. So one of the first things I've done was I replaced the big bulky tail light for this black slimline tail light. I made a custom points cover out of some steel plate and just polished it up so it was a nice mirror finish. I've also changed out the big bulky indicators to these slimline ones. I changed the headlight to a rectangle headlight instead of the stock round one. I've also done a tank lift and wire tuck, and I made a custom kickstand which I extended a little bit because I didn't like the lean that the bike originally had when I purchased it. Now, a couple of things that were already done to this bike before I purchased it were a stage 1. So basically stage 1 is just the air filter, a tune, and an upgraded exhaust. So that was already done, which saved me a bit of coin, and the rear suspension was upgraded as well, which makes the ride a little bit more comfortable. Now, for my upcoming videos, I'm looking at polishing the rocker heads, the cam cover, and I'm also looking at making a stainless steel sissy bar. So if that's something you want to see, make sure you subscribe. Otherwise, leave me a comment on what you reckon I should do next. Thanks for watching. Cheers.